The 41st WrestleMania took over Las Vegas's Easter weekend, and while there was plenty to get pumped about, there were some other aspects that didn't quite live up to the hype. How rad was it that Living Colour played CM Punk out on Saturday? Love him or hate him, that ruled! And Punk definitely needed something, because his first WrestleMania main event, the triple threat match between him, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, did not go in his favor, despite his high hopes.
This is what should have happened in 2011, 12, 13, you know? So I feel like I'm fortunate. I get a do-over.
After about 25 minutes of the three exchanging finishes and near falls, Paul Heyman, as expected, finally got involved, leading everyone to wonder where his allegiances would ultimately lie. He went to the timekeeper's area and got a steel chair, first passing it to Punk to use on Reigns. But then Heyman hit Punk with a low blow, handing the chair over to Roman. Then Heyman directed Reigns' attention to Rollins, who was positioned for a role-reversing chair shot similar to the one Rollins hit Reigns with when the Shield broke up. Once Reigns turned towards Rollins, Heyman hit Reigns with a low blow too, finally passing the chair off to Seth. Rollins obliterated Reigns with the chair, followed by a stomp, and got the pin. Maybe that was one too many swerves, but it was undeniably entertaining. Punk and Reigns have had a long history with Heyman, so the wise man choosing the other guy is at least something new, and the build to the match foreshadowed it well. It would have totally gone off without a hitch if the camera hadn't caught Punk sharing a laugh with the referee when he was supposed to be upset about losing the match. Also, we have to note that moment where Rollins countered a spear with a pedigree was pretty freaking incredible. The main event match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship proved to be a strange anticlimax to cap off Sunday night's festivities. Cody losing was all but expected. The prospect of Cena having a record-breaking 17th title run during his last year before retirement just has too much potential. The crowd seemed to know that too, so instead of booing Cena and cheering Cody, they did the opposite, giving everything a surreal vibe. WWE worked so hard to make Cena a hateable heel, and here were 60,000 plus people in Las Vegas chanting, "Let's go Cena," far, far louder than the Cena sucks response. After every bit of Cena offense, cheers. Cody makes a comeback, boos. Even when Cena was cheating with a low kick to win, Cena's victory sent them home happy, even though that wasn't the intent. It was like the bad version of the Hollywood Hogan-Rock match from WrestleMania 18. Speaking of, where was The Rock? He's been feuding with Cody for over a year now, drawing Cena into his influence, and he just sits this one out? He was almost definitely busy on a movie somewhere, but this is a show of shows. He couldn't take one day off just to show up and make the story more meaningful? Instead, all we got was Travis Scott, who didn't really add much. Yeah, the main event of WrestleMania 40 was pretty wildly overbooked, but it felt like a story was over when it ended. This was a middle chapter at best. The upside, though, is that there's clearly more story to tell, and Cody's far more interesting on the chase than as champion, frankly. Plus, seeing Travis Scott take a crossroads was very satisfying. Sunday night was a great showcase of women's wrestling. The opening triple threat for the Women's World Championship was, in our estimation, the best pure wrestling match of both nights. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky all brought it during multiple "This is awesome" chants. In a combination of great women's wrestling and a surprise that got the audience roaring, Becky Lynch made her WWE return after nearly a year away in the night. Replacing an injured Bayley, she teamed up with Women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyria to defeat Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Tag Team Championships in a short but well-wrestled match. Becky in particular looked to be in prime form. The crowd ate it up, and we did too. If anybody can inject some much-needed validity into the women's tag titles, which have been more or less an afterthought since they were unveiled back in 2019, it's big-time Bex. Here's hoping that her sharing the titles with Valkyria means she'll be showcased in some main event level matches.
I mean, maybe. You never say never.
Bayley was on the WrestleMania 41 card, until she wasn't. It was revealed on the Saturday pre-show that she was attacked by an unknown assailant, causing an injury to her shoulder. With that, Raw General Manager Adam Pearce had to remove her from the women's tag title match, stating that Valkyria had 24 hours to find a new partner, who turned out to be Lynch. Problem is, multiple reports confirmed that Bayley was not really injured. By all indications, she was perfectly healthy to compete. This was purely a storyline injury to make way for Lynch to return. As we made clear, the man's WWE comeback was an awesome moment, but it marked the second time a surprise Lynch entry in a big match came at someone else's expense. When she came back from maternity leave at SummerSlam 2021, she memorably defeated Bianca Belair, who had gained a lot of momentum in her absence, in under 30 seconds. Obviously, Bayley was well aware of the planned story and agreed to it. But even so, she's one of the 4 horsewomen too, and deserved a WrestleMania moment of her own. She's the one who has hung around and been on TV week in and week out. It seems like she got the short end of the stick for doing so. Saturday's show was largely predictable, aside from the multiple Paul Heyman swerves at the end. Sunday night brought a lot more of the unexpected. Not only was there the return of Becky Lynch, but also TNA World Champion Joe Hendry got possibly the loudest pop of the entire weekend when stepped up to face Randy Orton in his open challenge. Hendry lost pretty quickly and took a second RKO after the match, but it was really nice to see him.
Say his name and he appears.
Orton seemed to like Hendry too, giving him a little bit of a rub for the crowd before that second RKO. So hopefully we'll see more of Hendry on WWE TV in the coming months. It was also really fun to see Stone Cold Steve Austin come out on his ATV to announce the second night's attendance. Sure, he slammed into the barricade and seemingly caused a very bad night for one member of the crowd. Nonetheless, he was entertaining as always, challenging the attendance count and starting a 1-by-1 recount before giving up and chugging beers instead. He also checked on that fan. And while it wasn't exactly unexpected for Logan Paul to beat AJ Styles in their match, the athleticism was as impressive as fans hoped. Plus, it was pretty cool to see a pretty sizable portion of the match presented in one continuous shot from a flying drone. Innovation in match presentation can be a surprise too. Not only did the bell not ring on the very first match of Saturday night's show until 7:19 p.m. Eastern, the match itself got off to a pretty shockingly slow start. Jey Uso and Gunther took about a minute to just stare each other down before finally getting into it with a collar and elbow tie-up. Sure, that's a pretty normal way to start a wrestling match, but main event Jey Uso versus World Heavyweight Champion Gunther was not built up as a normal sporting contest. It was sold as a blood feud, with the most consequential moment in the build being Gunther brutally beating Jey's brother, Jimmy Uso, to a crimson pulp, while Jey, who had been handcuffed to the ropes, was forced to watch.
He done put hands on my twin brother, DC, you know, humiliated me out there in front of the whole world on Netflix, man.
Why wasn't Jey trying to maul Gunther from the moment they got in the ring? Maybe you could explain it away by saying Jey was being cautious because he knew how dangerous Gunther could be. But that wasn't really the story of the match. The match was just oddly methodically paced. The Jade Cargill-Naomi grudge match started off a little hotter, but slowed down its pace pretty quickly too. And that weird Weather Channel skit to introduce Jade did not fit the vibe of a match based around the betrayal involving being thrown through a car windshield. Their attacks on each other in the build to the match had a lot more fire, though Cargill did pull off some impressive moves on the grandest stage of them all. Things at least picked up a bit more in the next night's match between two competitors who despised each other, with Drew McIntyre hitting Damian Priest before the bell in their Sin City street fight. But then the pace was once again methodical and the action relatively tame compared to other street fights that got far more extreme and explored more of the arena. McIntyre even paused to take a selfie at one point, just after these guys were literally trying to rip each other's eyes out. Beyond all that, the entrances simply took forever. Of course, pageantry is a huge part of WrestleMania, but surely there was a way to make Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins' combined entrances take less than a full 15 minutes, even if the living color part was an excellent moment. While the match had some issues, the outcome of Jey Uso versus Gunther was great. Jey had shocked just about everyone by winning the Royal Rumble in February, and did it again by winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey is 39, and the Usos have been in WWE since 2010, but Jey is still in the early days of success as a solo superstar, given how vocally fans have gotten behind him and his Yeet catchphrase over the last year or so. It was downright heartwarming to see him walk away from Mania alongside Jimmy with gold. Likewise, Io Sky coming away from WrestleMania 41 retaining her Women's World Championship, notching her first Mania win in the process, proved that it isn't just the dominant stalwarts of WWE who can score victories. It was also the right call to have Tiffany Stratton retain her WWE Women's Championship in her first ever WrestleMania match. The build to her showdown with Royal Rumble winner Charlotte Flair was a mess, and that was largely due to the crowd repeatedly letting Charlotte know that they did not want her to have a 15th title reign.
If it took that to get here, then I hope that WrestleMania is going to be everything that we want it to be.
The match itself ended up being a little messy too, but Tiffany ultimately pulled it off with the prettiest moonsault ever, thereby heading off the biggest chance of the whole weekend for an audience revolt. Cargill also got the pin on Naomi, giving another rising star a W. It marked Cargill's second win at the Showcase of the Immortals, and her first in a singles contest. It was likewise really encouraging to see Jacob Fatu get a win in his very first WrestleMania match. He was really impressive in his US title win over LA Knight, and Haku was even there to help him celebrate. Rey Mysterio injured his foot on Friday night, so he had to drop out of his planned match against El Grande Americano, who, despite insisting he isn't, is Chad Gable in a mask. Though it was sad for Mysterio, his replacement was a very exciting prospect, Rey Fenix in his WrestleMania debut. What resulted was pretty disappointing though. It seems like WWE stuck to its original plan to have Gable win by cheating, leading to a dud debut for Fenix. Adding insult to injury, it wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement of Lucha Libre tradition on the night WWE announced it was acquiring Mexican wrestling promotion AAA. The following night, Phoenix's brother Penta was one of 4 competitors in a high-energy match for the Intercontinental title.
I promise, guys. I promise. This WrestleMania, I will show the world who is Penta, man.
While he had a pretty good showing, Penta was ultimately a non-factor in the finish. The story of the match was far more about the building rift between Judgment Day members Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor. And it was Dirty Dom who ultimately emerged the victor, pinning Balor. It's not like the careers of the Lucha Brothers are dead or anything, but both of them losing their first WrestleMania matches was not a great sign for their futures in WWE.